Hi, Zach. Welcome to the 8th Lane podcast.
Hi, Abby. Thanks for having me on.
So do you want to just give our listeners a brief introduction of who you are, kind of what you do? You're kind of new to this like Instagram running scene,
Yeah.
but I actually really like the way you like style your content and stuff. So yeah, give us an introduction of who you are.
Yeah, I'm Zach. I was born and raised in Arizona. Way too hot for me. So I moved out here to Utah for college, and then I'm staying here because of the mountains. I just, as soon as I moved here, I knew I was obsessed with the mountains. And 3 years later, I still feel like I can't get enough time in the mountains, even though I'm up there for 3-4 hours every day. But I had no plans of making Instagram content. I've never really had an Instagram or social media before last fall. But then my mom kept on hounding me. She was like, you got to start an Instagram and film your stuff. And I was like, but how can you like enjoy the moment and be present if I'm trying to film stuff? But she just would not. She's a very stubborn mama. So I was
Mom.
like, all right, I'll start filming. So just started making videos. Like I'd never edited a video before, like this fall 9 months ago. And so that was a big learning curve. I remember like my second video getting so angry because I couldn't figure out the trim tool on Instagram.
So frustrating. I hate the Instagram editor.
Yeah, that's what I'm still using. But luckily my wife helped out. She edited a couple of my early videos. She's like super artsy, and she has her own Instagram where she does wedding cakes and florals and stuff.
Oh, cool.
So those early videos, like I would post the same run from my edit. It would get like 200 views, and hers would get like 2,000. But
you're like, okay, can you do this?
Yeah. So I was like asking her to edit, but then very quickly I was like, that's not the like direction I want to go of super artsy and pretty. And so I was like, I just gotta bite the bullet and learn how to do this. So some very like ghetto janky videos early on, but I mean that's how life works, is you learn and you grow. And then just been working on that. And then early this year, like mid-January, I'd been thinking about wanting to hit 1 million feet this year. I saw that Zach Garner got 1.6 million feet of vert last year. And so I was like, if he can get 1.6 million, then I bet I could get 1 million. So I was thinking about it. I was thinking about just not telling that to people, just having that as my own goal, partly because it's just my own personal goal, and partly because I didn't want to feel like I was doing it for anyone other than myself. But I think it was late January, I finally just was like, you know what, I'm gonna commit to this goal. I'm gonna like say it out loud and really go for it. So I'd fallen up behind a little bit, but now to today we're finally catching up.
It's hard with the snow.
Yeah.
So you said you're doing 1 million feet of vert in one calendar year. I think that's a really cool goal. I've heard a lot of mountain athletes kind of make that goal, but they like mesh skiing and running.
Yeah.
So to do it just running is really hard.
Yeah, it is a lot. I mean, the thing with the winter time though is there's a lot of running up and then sliding down instead of skiing down. So that's nice. I mean, I definitely want to learn how to ski eventually. I've been to resort like 10 times on skis. I was planning on becoming a ski touring guy, but then I realized very quickly that I'm not just going to learn in one season how to be a safe skier. So and then I also have just been falling more and more in love with trail running and winter trail running even. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I know eventually I'll get there, but for now I'm just loving trail running.
So definition of success for this goal, do you have any other stipulations, or how are you defining?
I just think like in my definition of what I think a goal should be is I think it should be a process. I love process goals. And I think I had a big realization last year where I was training for the DC Peaks 50 miler. That's a beautiful race, beautiful course. But honestly, there was all that like hype, and I was like, I'm working so hard towards this goal. And then I ran the race, and I didn't really feel like there was any satisfaction payout. I just kind of finished the race and felt almost kind of empty compared to where I felt on a lot of big adventures with my friends that I'd done in the lead up to training. And that's where it kind of clicked for me that I don't want to be running for this big end result of like placing well at a race or any of that stuff because I've done that before and I've tried that before and I haven't found the most joy in it. So the reason why I have the 1,000,000 feet goal, it's not about reaching the number at the end of the year. It's about all the experiences I have every day. And it's been amazing so far, having so many fun experiences that I would not have had, because there's been days where I've been like, oh, I just got 7K vert yesterday and 6K vert 2 days ago. And now today someone's asking me to go get another 6K vert. And like before I'd be like, no, I'm just going to take a chill today on Bonneville Shoreline. But now I'm like, no, that's another day I could be racking up the vert. And sure enough, it's just lots of fun adventures. And honestly, my body feels great doing vert because it's a lot of hiking. And then, I mean, coming down is tough on the body, but I feel like you get used to it.
So did you start trail running in kind of the ultra scene, or where did trail running start for you?
Yeah, so I moved here and I didn't even know that trail running was a thing, honestly. Like,
did you run in high school?
Yeah, I ran all through high school. I loved running. I watched the Barkley Marathons documentary when I was
I saw you posted about
16,
this,
yeah. And I loved it. I was very obsessed with the idea of running ultra distances or just ultra athletes in general. But I never ran more than 13 miles in high school. And because Arizona's so hot, it's all just flat desert where I lived. It wasn't like it wasn't something that I thought was possible at the time. And then as soon as I moved here, I saw the mountains and I was like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. And then very quickly I realized, oh, no one wants to do this with me. So it was a bit of a slow start where I was like, all of my time in the mountains is going to be alone because my friends in Provo who went to BYU, I'm like, that was the weirdest thing to me. I expected to come here and everyone to be like granola and outdoorsy, and to realize that that's not the majority who live here. I mean, a lot of people say they like being outdoors, but it's like you get your one
do you
one
like
hike a month.
Being outdoors, or do you like 1,000,000 feet of vert?
Yeah,
outdoors?
Exactly. I was just like, who else wants to be outside in the mountains all day, every day with me? And people were like, no, not that. And so I honestly just would go and do the trails in Provo, run from my apartment in Provo, and just do Rock Canyon, White Mountain, and Slate Canyon. And I loved it. I just fell in love with being up there. And at the time when I first moved here, I was actually a big and obsessed with spike ball. So that would take all my free time. I would play for like 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm very much an obsessive personality. But I started to realize after a year and a half of being like that with spike ball that like I was obsessed but not really fulfilled through spike ball. And so that's when I realized like I've been trail running once or twice a week. I don't even know what trail running is. I'm going to look into it. Looked on Facebook, and that's where I found Bill and Craig on some random Facebook group. So I messaged Bill, and he was like, yeah, come to Dry Canyon to run Big Baldy with us. And I didn't have a car, so I was like trying to figure out how to ride my bike like 20 miles out to Dry Canyon. Just kidding, it's not 20 miles. But eventually I met up with Bill and Craig, and that's where like they introduced me to everyone and explained like, no, you don't just run up everything, and like 80% of your training should be easy. You shouldn't just be, because before it'd be like my 2 days a week I would hammer as hard as I could and then not run at all the rest of the week.
You're just dead.
Yeah, so it was amazing meeting them and then being introduced to the community and getting into everything through that.
Yeah, I was actually really similar when I was in college. Like I also went to BYU, and I didn't have a car, so I'd like bike to the trailheads, and like biking to Big Baldy trailhead was like, it made it like kind of a day event, so I'd have to wait till Saturday to like bike over there and then hike up, I guess, with a backpack and like jostle run down. So yeah, what do you feel like you get out of all this time in the mountains? Like before you said you didn't really feel fulfilled with DC Peaks because you were kind of comparing it to all those experiences you had with friends. Is it the experiences with friends that are enriching, or are the alone experiences also enriching for you? Maybe explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I would definitely say I think overall it's just the feeling of being able to like enjoy the mountain, take my time, like go as fast as I want, and then like there's a thing where in a race you're going as fast as you want, but I don't really feel like I can. Well, you're going as fast as you can, but I don't feel like I can enjoy the moment because I'm just trying to get to the next. But when I'm trying to run fast on a trail or not, I feel like no matter how fast I'm going, I can always still stop at any moment and just like today when I was trying to get an FKT on the big Baldy loop, I got tired, so I just sat down on the rock at the top and just sat there for like 10 minutes, and there's no rush. I could sit up there as long as I want. I mean, I got to get home and do the dishes and mow the lawn, but different from a race where I feel like I know that people have figured that out, how to race with that mindset of like, I'm out here to have fun and do a fast time, but I haven't really ever figured that out. I'm hoping with the Bear 100 this fall that I can feel that feeling of like I'm going for a fast time, but I'm also enjoying the beautiful course.
So you're doing Bear 100 this fall?
Yeah, I'm 95 on the wait list right now, so.
Oh, you'll get in for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is this your first 100?
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw, didn't you do the Bonneville Backyard Ultra?
Mm-hmm.
And then you did DC Peaks. Have you done any others, like officially?
I ran the Not Here Grandma's Marathon 2 years ago.
What even is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's a really small race put on by Radical Races. Okay. There's some guys here in Provo. They're cool. They're interesting. They like put on races, but they're not really part of the running community. Okay. They just like do hard. They do like their own hard things. Okay. Kind of like funny David Goggins type dudes.
Oh, okay.
But the race is just from Rock Canyon to the Cascade Saddle down to Big Springs and then back up and down. Oh, cool. So it's 26 miles and almost 9K vert. So that was a big turning point for me because that was when I had never really done much real training. I went to that race and climbing back up to the Cascade Saddle, Lori Castagnetto. Do you know her? She's an absolute beast. She's gotten like 5th place overall at Loaded Jaw. Oh wow. She's a cycling just savage, but she also trail runs, and she caught me going back up to the saddle, and we talked a little bit, and she was just like, what are your goals? What are you up to? And I was like, I want to become an ultra runner, but I don't know like if I have that in me. And she just was very confident in me and was like, cool. If you're crushing this race, then you'll be great at a 50 or 100 miler or whatever you want to do. And so that always really stuck with me, and I loved that, just how the community is so supportive and people just are gonna lift everyone up around them, and how at the top she was like, I know you'll catch me on this downhill, and from the Cascade Saddle to Rock Canyon finish, she pulled ahead by like 15 minutes on me.
Those downhills, do you feel like you're more of like an uphill guy or a downhill guy?
I would say I'm more of a climber, but just recently I've been working on really like cranking downhills. I just hate spraining my ankles. I used to, when I first started trail running, I would have a bad sprain like nonstop. And I'm finally getting good enough where I'm not always having a sprained ankle, so I have that mental confidence to push the limit a little bit. So I'm getting better at downhills for sure. Cool.
I think I interrupted you, but so she kind of beat you on the downhill, but she kind of gave you the inspiration to run ultramarathons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going forward, where do you see yourself in this sport? Do you feel like you're an FKT guy? Do you feel like you want to take on your own personal challenges, or do you see yourself, I mean, you have the bear, so maybe after the bear you could speak more to this. But
yeah.
Where do you see yourself?
Like, at least right now, back to what I was talking about with goals and success, is my goal this year to hit 1 million feet is leading towards my definition of success, which is becoming who I want to be. And who I want to be is just someone who is in the mountains, someone who is confident in the mountains. I think of like just kind of older dudes that I see around here, dudes in Rock Canyon who are like 70 years old, 80 years old, who everyone knows. They've seen big avalanches, they've seen rivers change, and they know like every nook and cranny of the mountains, and that's where I see myself. I don't really, I mean, who knows, maybe after Bear 100 I'll be hooked on 100s, but I just want to set the precedent in my life that I make time for nature and for the mountains, and for I just love exploring. I love seeing things that I've never seen before, and I also love watching the seasons change. I love seeing during spring. I'm obsessed with spring because I just love watching the grass start dead and every day being out there. And like if I miss a day out there, I'm like, freak, the grass is growing without me watching it, or like there's new flowers popping up without me seeing them. Last summer, early summer, we were gone in Mexico for a week and a half, and it was so much fun in Cancun. It was for our honeymoon.
Yeah.
Me and my wife.
It was our honeymoon.
I loved it, but I got home and I was just like, oh, I miss so much. Like the mountains have been growing.
I know, like that's kind of the cool thing about trail running and ultra running is that it feels like I also like vacations. I like leaving with my husband, but I'm just as excited to stay here to like be able to do stuff here, because we do live in like kind of a playground in this little valley. Yeah, we
really do. And I just love that the people that I'm with, that I surround myself with, like Craig and Bill, that they're the type of people where like that's what they want to do, is they want to be in the mountains. Like they're training for races, but like I don't really think any of us see it as training that much. And that's the mindset that I want to have, is I'm not getting up into the mountains to train. Like I love seeing progress, is super exciting and satisfying, but what's way more lasting than that for me is like knowing the earth that we live on, and just like understanding the way things work in the mountains, because it's crazy to me that people don't know a lot of these things that I don't know, southern facing slopes of canyons are normally hotter and drier, and northern facing slopes are wetter, like stuff like that. That's so cool. Where I moved here and I had no idea, and I was like, why is that side of the canyon deserty and that side all pine trees and forest, and it's like, oh, shade exists.
Oh, shade.
And like stuff like that is just the earth is insane. And like I don't see myself ever getting enough of that.
We're excited to announce our first podcast sponsor, Creatures of Habit. They have a great overnight oat product called Meal One. There's a ton of different flavors, and each flavor has just about 30 grams of plant-based protein. You put it in the fridge the night before, take it out the morning of, and you have a nice balanced breakfast to fuel you for your workout. If you use our code STORER at creaturesofhabit.com, you get 10% off. And we'd also like to thank our sponsor, Coach Soak. Coach Soak is a brand that focuses on athletes' recovery. Their products have magnesium flakes, mineral-rich sea salts, and essential oils in them that will help aid you in their recovery. These products come in lotions, sprays, and bath salts. If you use code STORER at checkout, that will get you 10% off. So how do you feel like, because you kind of are getting into the Instagram scene now, so how do you feel like you protect yourself from comparison? Because on Instagram, I feel like it's like, I'm training for this, I'm training for this, I'm training for this. How can you stay true to your definition of success while being inundated with all of these things? Yeah,
I think I definitely try to take the zoom out for sure and think like what's really important. And like, because I think about myself in high school, I wanted so badly to be good enough to run in college, but at the end of the day, I just wasn't good enough. And I was so like sad and bummed out that I just wasn't that good. And it seemed like other people were doing the same thing as me and got good enough and could run in college. But then now that I'm in college, I realize my friends who are collegiate athletes, they don't get to spend that much time in the mountains that I do, and they have to worry about getting injured and all these things. And so I think just kind of focusing on my own journey and focusing on like even though it would be fun to have broken 4 in the mile or have gotten sub 14 in the 5K or to be doing 2 million feet of vert this year, that like that's not me and that's not my journey. And something I think about a lot, I haven't really been talking about this to anyone, is just how like no matter how good you get, someone will always be better than you. Like when I first started my Instagram and I was like, maybe I should go the artsy route and show cool views, but it's like someone's always your husband is always going to have way better shots than me. And like someone's always going to be way faster, way stronger. And like I think it's important to work on those things, but the only thing that I have is just like who I am. And so that's been the huge realization to me, that really, like, none of us are really that special other than the fact that we can be ourselves.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Do you feel like, I mean, you recently started that run club. You'd said before that you didn't know how to get into trail running, so you reached out to Billy and Craig.
Bill and Craig.
Bill and Craig, okay.
Yeah.
And they kind of showed you how to trail run.
Yeah.
Is that kind of why you started this run club with like a no drop pace? Okay. Tell me about that.
That's very much how I started it, because I felt just like I enjoyed my time in the mountains, but I didn't know how trail running worked. And so I feel a lot of gratitude to Bill and Craig for teaching me and like taking the time to communicate with me and have me out there. And now that I'm running more, I do realize like I have my own goals. I have my own time crunches for things. And so, yeah, it's not always the most simple or easy thing to organize a group. But I just think if I can be the reason that one of those people, or not that it has to be me, but just like if I can organize something where people can come and learn. Because I mean, I've just been in the very back, so it's been like Bill and Craig are at the front of the group explaining how things work to everyone and inspiring someone. Like last week we had a guy come out who had never been on a trail before.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Like it's just super cool because I get so many DMs of people saying like, I wish I could come, but I can't run uphill. And I'm like, you don't have to run uphill.
No one does.
We actually very much discourage any running uphill at our run group because like I just kind of think of it as I hope people can come to run group, understand that you don't have to be killing yourself to be a trail runner or to enjoy the mountains. You can just come up and walk up, and then you can walk or run down. You really, all that matters is that you're enjoying time in nature. And so to hear people and be like, oh wow, I came to run group and now I realized I can just go do this. And I mean, there's the whole safety concerns, but in my mind, like if someone can come out and realize I can go do this on my own as much as I want, that's super valuable to me, and that's very fulfilling.
Yeah. We had the founder of Women of the Wasatch on a couple weeks ago, and she talked specifically too about how important the no drop runs were to just in feedback from the run groups of like those mean the most to people just because that's how you like birth runners, trail runners. So it's really cool. What do you feel like you have gotten out of the run club building it? Because you are doing it to give back, but do you feel like you've been able to get anything out of it? Definitely.
I mean, meeting really cool people, meeting people who I admire. There's a guy who came who did PCT last summer.
Cool.
And so it's crazy to me that like those are that I've been watching so many PCT documentaries, and it's very much another like a future obsession that eventually I want to do it. And so
will you run it, or are you gonna through hike it?
I'll probably just through hike it.
Okay.
But
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, no way. That would be rough. But and like, because that's also something that interests me is becoming family with strangers on the PCT. And so yeah, I wouldn't want to run it because I feel like I would skip a lot of that.
Totally.
But like, so that's what's cool for me for the group run is to gather all these people that I was always trying to find, but I could never really. I mean, I found like Bill and Craig who are like 50 and 60, but I was like, where are all the people our age, like people in their 20s? Because I know other people are out there, but it's hard to find them. And so it's insane to me that the Instagram algorithm just gathered all these really cool people, and now I'm like, dang, I get to meet all these people who I've been looking for. So that's been I would say the most satisfying.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I like cooking for people, so it's nice to make everyone the quesadillas after.
That's so cool. That's hilarious. So do you cook often? Do you consider yourself like a chef?
I wouldn't consider myself a chef, but I am very passionate about cooking. I love cooking. Me and my brother started a Taco Tuesday night.
Oh, cool.
2 years ago in Provo, and we just were kind of like, let's gather people and let's see how big we can get this. And over the course of 4 months, we grew it all the way up to 350 people.
That's great. How did you even fund that?
It was insane. I mean, at first we just tried having people not pay, and then we had people pay $3, and then we were still like losing money because it was unlimited food, like unlimited tacos. He would make horchata, I would make the chicken and the beans and buy everything, and then my friend would make the rice. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, that last week I cooked 55 pounds of chicken and
gosh.
20 pounds of beans, and
just in like a dorm room stove.
Yeah, just in a dorm room stove.
That's crazy.
It took me like 13 hours.
Oh my gosh, that's a long time.
So that was kind of like the big bang that kind of was the beginning of the end for it, because it was stressful and it was a lot of work and we didn't make any money.
Don't have an industrial kitchen.
Yeah, we actually got sponsored by a one of the sales companies around
did you
here.
Really? That's hilarious.
So they paid us an extra $750 on top of what people Venmo'd.
Oh, that's cool.
That one night we made like $1,500, but then we were just like, I want to see what it feels like to give away a bunch of money. So we gave away $1,000, and then it was $500 to cover costs.
Oh,
so
cool.
We made nothing for that one night, but it was an epic night to have a random apartment in Provo giving away money to people who came to get tacos and party.
Yeah, and as a college student, you're like, yes.
Yeah, it was a very fun time in life, but I don't want taco group runs to get that complicated. That's why I'm just keeping it to bean and cheese quesadillas.
So it sounds like you put a huge emphasis on like community and the people around you. Do you have any favorite like personal projects that you've done with friends, maybe leading up to DC Peaks last year, or any that you've already done this year that you're like, oh, like this was meaningful to me?
Yeah. I really haven't done that many big routes with people, but a super memorable day is last spring when me and my friends Josh and Jordan went and did Provo Peak, and it was still super snowy, and we were all up at the top and realized the snow was still pretty rock hard, and none of us had brought pants.
Oh, no.
And we were planning on glissading down, and so all of us just got our butts torn up on the ice coming down.
So there's like blood trails.
Yeah, pretty much. And it hurt, but it was days like that are so memorable, and we still talk about that all the time of how much fun. Because then when we did get lower down below 9,000 feet, the snow was softer, and then we did some awesome glissading, and that was probably when I first got obsessed with glissading, was that day. And another day that really sticks out to me is I convinced my brother to go out with me. He's not a trail runner. He was training for the Utah Valley Marathon.
Okay.
And we were hiking up the Y, and we saw this kid coming up behind us, and it was Owen. And I just started talking to him, found out he was 16, but homeschooled. So he was like on his lunch recess break or whatever, PE break, I guess. And got talking to him, and turned out that he lives here in Provo, but he's super knowledgeable of all the mountains, had all these routes planned. He's much more knowledgeable on routes and stuff than me. I mean, at this point he's 18 now, but that's what's another thing that's been so valuable to me, is meeting people out in the mountains and then building relationships and becoming good friends with them. He's who I went with last week to do the Timp High Route up on the Timp Ridge, and it's nice to be with someone like, I mean, even though he's pretty young, he knows what he's doing, and he's very professional about it, and so that's sick to be surrounded with those types of people.
So how are you choosing your routes that you run? Like, for those of you who haven't seen Zach's Instagram, it's like we do a lot of like the fat map videos. I don't know what thing you use, but there's like, it's this little dot that shows you going up the mountain, coming down the mountain, doing your route. How do you choose your routes? Do you build them? Do people give them to you?
Yeah, I do very little route building, honestly.
Okay.
I try to do more, but I guess I did a couple this winter where I just was like, I'm thinking about this. So I looked at it at Fat Map, looked at the gradients, and was like, that'll work out. But mostly I just get inspired from what other people are doing. Like the super sick Provo Peak route that we did 2 weeks ago, my by far most viewed video, Zach Gardner and Sam Collins had done it. And so I was like, I want to go try that out, and really had no idea what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
But it was like, they did it, so we can try.
I didn't see what it was. Where did you start? Where did you end up?
We started at the Y, went up to Provo Peak, and then went a little north on the ridge, and then dropped into the bowl over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then went a little bit farther north, and then bushwhacked down into Rock Canyon, and then popped out on a Squaw Peak Road, and then went down Rock Canyon. And
fun.
It was an epic route. I've never been back by that bowl because I didn't even really realize that it existed, and it was huge. So like, so much, so much open space. Something I've really been wanting to try, but I think it's too late in the year, is to go up to Provo Peak, and then just where everyone skis down on East Provo Peak, we just glissade down that. Snow conditions looked great that day. We decided on a whim to do that route like last second when we were at the top of Provo Peak. Yeah. So I was kind of like, we should drop down east right now and then go hitchhike out of Hobble Creek. But my friend who I was with was like, let's try following Sam and Zach's footprints. So
they're just like,
so we were like, let's do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any routes planned for this summer?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to do. I want to go do Nebo. Never done Nebo.
Cool. Nebo's so pretty.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone's been doing Olympus, so I want to do Olympus too, but I hear it's really exposed, so got to get out there early. Yeah. I've actually never done Cascade, like official peak.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's one I want to do.
You were up there 2 weeks ago, I guess.
Really? How was that?
I said you were up there.
Oh.
2 weeks ago-ish, close.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I just love Timp, so I want to do Everest Ridge a lot. I did it like 3 times last year. I've done it twice this year, but I want to put down a hard fast time on Everest Ridge because I've never really pushed that hard. And then probably my biggest goal right now is to go sub 230 on the Timpaniki route round trip for Timp.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Well, I haven't done it yet.
Do you have a current PR?
Yeah, 239.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're so close.
Yeah.
You're so close. Are you trying to cut time off the down or the up?
Probably mostly off the climb.
Okay.
I did it was 137 for the up and then 102 down. I don't really think I could take much off the 102 down. It was like storming that day and pouring rain, and there was probably 2 minutes I was putting on a jacket on the climb.
Oh, okay.
So I think a nice, cool, clear day this summer. I definitely think it's possible.
Early morning, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
That definitely really excites me because I feel like Timp is such a classic mountain, and that Strava segment for the round trip has 3K or 4K efforts. So I think just getting on the top 10 would be sick.
Would be cool.
10
that
is
would be
236, cool. So I would say that's like the...
Oh, you're right there.
Yeah, I for sure want to at least get sub 236. No way I'm ever getting Jason DeRay's 216 though.
Yeah, that's insane. That's so insane. Yeah. So how do you feel like you balance? Because before you'd mentioned to me that you like try to stay away from numbers. So how do you feel like you balance like setting these time goals that are super fun, but also staying away from numbers? Yeah. Where's the balance there for you?
I think for me, I've realized in terms of like segment efforts compared to race efforts, where if you go for a segment and you miss it, then it's just kind of like, it was a fun day in the mountains and like we'll try again later. And it's not like I need to hit that time. If I never go sub 230 on Timp, then oh well. Like I just know it would be really fun to go sub 230 and I know I would be stoked out of my mind. But it's not that same type of thing in high school where I felt like I wanted so badly to go sub 16 in the 5K. And every race that I wasn't getting sub 16, I was just like, like I should have tried harder. I should have done this and this and this. But like on a day like today, there is no like, oh, I wish I had fueled better or I had been more hydrated or done it early morning. It was just like, I went on a whim and I didn't get it. And like, it was just another day in the mountains. And so I think that's what's so important for me with numbers is like, yeah, they can be fun, but not letting it be anything more than that to me is just fun. And if I am that attached to it, then I should probably just let go of it.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're pretty sure of like everything you're kind of talking about comes back to your goal of like ultimately you want to be good in the mountains. You want to spend time in the mountains and know the mountains. How do you feel like you were able, for our listeners who are like feeling conflicted with all different types of goals and training or Instagram or whatever, like what was your process for finding, oh, I just want to be someone that does well in the mountains? How could they maybe replicate that to find their goal?
Yeah, I think for me it was definitely being out there and meeting people and meeting lots of different personality types and different like just meeting different people. I realized, wow, that is who I want to be, and that not so much is who I want to be. And so after meeting a lot of those people, I just kind of had that epiphany that, you know what, that someone, even if I did break 4 minutes in the mile next week, who would I be the week after, and who would I be a year later? And that's the kind of thing, is like those are the people who make an impact on me, who are people who have found their thing and have been committed to it and have learned to love people along the way, and not be so focused on like, I need to do this so that I can be cool or so that people can validate me. Like I don't want any of my goals ever to be based on some sort of external validation. I want to be there so that I can be the best version of me, and the version of me that can lift up other people and help them realize that all this noise around us of the getting likes and comments or getting a certain time and having people be like, wow, you're the best, none of that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's something I appreciate so much about endurance sports and kind of the community, at least that I've come across in this world, is that like I think maybe it's because we do have a lot of time alone to be introspective and to think about like who we are and what we're doing in the world. So maybe that kind of lends itself to being a really kind, open community rather than like, I don't feel like the ultra running world or the trail running world is focused on competition as much as it is community, at least in my experience.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I feel like I've found such a place in it, and why I love being a part of the trail running community, is because very few people are like, I mean, Jose or Chepe before Squaw Peak 50 this weekend.
Did he get like 7:19 or something like that?
I think he got 8:30.
Oh, he got 8:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's crazy good, and he won the race. But I just love how beforehand I was talking to him and like who do you think, like, do you think you're gonna win it? And just like his whole aura and like mentality, you can tell that he's thought about it a lot, and that winning is not like the most important thing to him at all. And that if someone else was gonna have a great day and win it, then he would be so stoked for them. And but like, I mean, he wins like everything right now. So it's like great for him, but it's like not really anyone else who I would rather have winning stuff that I'm a part of the community. Because like the other day I commented on his thing and I was like, yeah, I'll never be as fast as you. And he's like, no, I bet you will. Like,
and he like genuinely means it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think, like, I don't know what other community is like that, where the people at the top are very much like reaching down to people below them and are like, you can totally be where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah. I also love that aspect. One thing I also would like to touch on is kind of, I mean, you're out here every day. Do you run every day? Right
Yeah,
now?
6 days a week. I
Week.
take
Okay.
Sundays off.
You take Sundays off. So you're out here 6 days a week, putting in a lot of vert. Are there days you don't want to do it, where you feel like you have to kind of pull discipline in? Or because you're just focused on like having fun in the mountains, does it always feel pretty easy for you?
That was actually something I was thinking about yesterday, where like I don't feel like I'm a very disciplined person. Yeah, I'm coming up on 3 months of running 6 days a week. And so I would say it's very rare that I feel like I have to push myself out. It's mainly just sleep like based. If I'm really sleepy, kind of just like, oh, I want to take a nap instead of go out. But then as soon as I get out, then I'm feeling great. So yeah, there are definitely some days where I have to drag myself out, but it's like I have the ability right now to kind of center my whole life around going out on a run every day. So I definitely have the luxury of it not being such a hassle as I know it is compared to someone who worked the normal 9 to 5 days a week. Like I'm sure if I was doing that, I would need a lot more discipline. I just think I'm in a very lucky situation right now where it does stay mostly fun. I will say where the discipline comes in is like with the vert goal, some days doing a couple extra laps on the Y or a couple extra laps up to the G or whatever, where I definitely would not be doing that unless I was having the 1,000,000 feet goal at the end of the year.
Yeah, because the Y trail is not necessarily like in the mountains. It's kind of just like, I'll get my vert here. I was training for Ouray a couple years ago and had to resort to the Y trail quite often. But it's good to get like some good vert laps in and everything.
Yeah, and even the Y has its own benefits where like I love just seeing like the Y regulars and seeing like I had it on my video on Saturday that 79-year-old dude who he's done it 55 times this year.
So crazy. It's
I
so
swear
cute.
he's always up there every time I'm there because he does one lap, but I'm sure it takes him like maybe 3 hours, 2.5 hours. I don't know how long it takes him, but it feels like anytime I'm there, he's always there. So seeing all the little stories like that, I love people watching. And so going out there and meeting random people. And I mean, recently, like having people be like, hey, Trails with Zach, that's like crazy to me, but it's fun to just be like, hey, that's another person that I get to meet without really having to try.
Yeah. And I think too, your content makes these trails seem more accessible just because like I've met a lot of people, especially girls, who feel intimidated about getting onto the trails alone. So like to see someone cranking out laps at Big Baldy or cranking out laps on the Y or whatever really regularly, I think makes it seem more doable for people.
Yeah. It's definitely
cool. But it is hard. Like cranking out all those laps. Vert is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely, and it's just so time consuming.
Yeah, it is very time
takes
consuming.
a lot of time.
Yeah, 6 miles with 3,000 feet of vert is much different than 6 miles with like 500 feet of vert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something for me where like I've gotten so used to that where you don't really talk about pace that much with people, trail runners. That's not something like pace, what? And so that's something I have to remember when people are DMing me. They're like, what pace do you run at? I run at a 7-minute pace, or I run at a 9-minute pace, to just kind of be like, okay, yeah, it really does not matter. Whatever pace you do, you just walk up at whatever you feel like you can do and then run down at whatever you feel like you can do.
Yeah.
That's something that I just am so attracted to about trail running, is that
me too.
That's a big thing that I mean by getting away from numbers is like, yeah, there's the general time, and as you're trail running longer, you can get more into numbers. But if you want to, you can just kind of do what's fun and feels good. And it's sick to meet those old timers out there who have been in the mountains for years and years and have never gotten to Strava, never gotten to watch. Yeah. They're just like, I go to that peak for lunch and then like I'm down by 3:00 or whatever. And that's their day in the mountains. Yeah.
And my husband and I have talked about this of like, we don't necessarily want or need people on the podcast who are running like crazy fast times, who are winning races. We like want people on the podcast who are exceptionally passionate about what they do. And so yeah, I think trail running is totally the sport for that, because there are millions of people here in Utah especially who just like love it, and that's just what they do. And they're pretty quick maybe, but maybe they're not. So
Yeah.
It's cool.
That's honestly, I feel like that's a double-sided sword for me, is that I am around these people who are so passionate and who will do whatever it takes to get out in the mountains every day, or just like, I love people who are just passionate about things in general. And so when I do meet people who are like, I'm like, what do you do? And they're like, I go to work and come home and watch Netflix. And like, I can't understand. It's like so hard for me to relate to that mentality, because I'm like, where's the passion at? Because when I look back on my life, ever since I was 4 years old, I know year by year what I was obsessed with and what I was super passionate about. And through all those trends, running has always been in the background ever since. That's been something crazy to me to think about, that even though I didn't start like running until I was 7th grade, I think. Even when I was in like kindergarten, when we were playing tag out at recess, I remember the feeling of having the raspy throat and being so sweaty and so
blood.
The tasting of blood, and loving that, and always wanting to be the fastest, like even though I don't have that natural speed, but it's always been there. And so that's for me why I feel confident in saying that's where I want to be when I'm 80 years old. Like, as someone who is always running or always just in the mountains, is because I can look back at my last 20 years and see that that's always been there, even if I haven't noticed it. And I'm not saying that the only way you can be one of those long-term mountain athletes is if it's already always been there, because it's sick to me when people are like, I've always hated running or whatever, and they get into it. But I just think like there's also people out there who just have always loved it.
And in a sense, I think too why like so many of us find like this community in ultra running, like weird people definitely gravitate toward ultra running. Like there are weird people out on the trails, but I love it because like, you have to be a little bit weird to want to be up there for 6 hours and not hate it, if that makes sense, or even hate it and then want to come back down and go back up, you know?
I definitely think like, it's so weird to me that I can go out, and when I did the South Temp Ridge 2 weeks ago, I was planning on going with Bobby and Owen, but then both of them backed out last second. So I was just at the parking lot, and I didn't really know the route too well. And I also was just like, do I really want to just do this big day by myself? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I do. And so then I was out there for 7 hours and just thinking, and to think that like I could be out there for 7 hours by myself. I saw people for maybe 10 minutes total of that whole 7 hours, but to finish the day and feel so fulfilled, feel so like there was never a second of that I was bored or that I felt like I wished I was somewhere else. It's crazy to me that like that space exists in my life. And I feel like that's what I feel so grateful for, is where, like, I don't know where else I could find that type of thing where there's no stimulus other than just real life. And to be so just like enthralled that I'm there and just in my thoughts.
So what piece of advice would you give to people listening to the podcast who feel like they admire you or admire what you're doing, or even just admire your passion for the sport and how much you're putting into it? What actionable advice would you give to them?
I would say that you don't need people supporting you to start doing what you're passionate about. That if you do it, then you'll find other people who will support you and be there with you. I think the most important thing is just getting out there and being where you're passionate, and doing it whether people think it's weird or not, and that you'll find the people once you're doing it. It's pretty hard to find them if you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Because all those people are going to be doing
it.
Yeah, you're going to be doing it.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. And for people listening, you said you were 22, right?
Yeah. 22.
Yeah, Zach is 22. You definitely have had a lot of time to think and like form really articulate opinions. So yeah.
I think it helps that I'm a very dramatic thinker in some things. I like to write poems, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Uh-huh.
Do you write them like while you run?
I think about them while I
compose
run.
them?
I'm definitely like, I like thinking for like a month about a poem or an idea, and then I'll write it in like 5 minutes.
You should post them.
I've been thinking about it. I posted one last fall.
Oh, cool.
And it just didn't feel right.
Mm.
But I don't know. That's the hard thing about social media is I'm like, I love writing poems, but then I posted it and it felt cringy and like no one really like seemed like they liked it. But then now I do have an audience that I'm pretty sure my audience would
understand what you're trying to
would
say.
would like the poems. But I'm like, I hate that just because I have support now, I feel comfortable to do it when I didn't really want to do it when I didn't have support. I feel like that's honestly a big reason why I don't want to start doing it now, because I'm like I have all these nice people now, and like so it's easy when you have the support. Like making a video every day is sick because I'm like I can say whatever I want, and I got thousands of people who are gonna be like, this is sick. Like I love this. When before it was like, wow, I got 200 people who gave me 6 likes on this. So I think that's a weird place I'm in right now, where I'm like, I need to remember my roots, you know, and not like, remember that life is easy when you have like so much support.
Yeah, even going back to your own advice though, like do what you want to do, and you'll find the people that support you. So
exactly,
I think more people supporting, like when people support me, I am inclined to support them, and vice versa too. Like when I support people, I feel them supporting me too. So it's never like a negative thing.
Yeah, exactly. And and that's so much fun. Like being out on the race course on Saturday, I was hyping everyone up, and there were so many racers who'd be like, dude, I love your videos. And I'm like, no, I'm here cheering you on. I'm the one hyping you up. And so like it's crazy to be around people who are so positive and loving. Yeah, that's what I think it just draws me to Craig so much. Have you ever met Craig?
I haven't met. For some reason I feel like he's the guy with the runner's corner jersey.
Yeah.
On your, okay.
Always
why do I know
wearing the
that his
runner's
name
corner
is Craig?
jersey.
I have no idea.
He's like Strava famous.
Okay. Maybe then that's what I know him from. I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Do you run with him a lot?
Yeah, I try to run with him as much as possible, as long as his wife lets him.
You're like, just
he's always he'll be okay with me saying this because his wife doesn't see anything on social media. But one really funny day, we were about to start our run, and he was on the phone with his wife still. He's like, sorry babe, I'm stuck down south at work. I'm just my wife's like, I swear if you ever do that to me, you're dead. But
like, weird, my location's showing I'm on top of Tim, but like I'm actually grocery shopping.
He's legit had calls with his wife on the top of Big Baldy. He'd be like, so many patients today. But it's just so funny because like he's 60 and he's just out here enjoying life, being in the mountains, cool. and just such a positive guy. Always when we see people, like there was this crazy lady that I met one day on the mountain who was telling me all about the end of the world and stuff, and I told Craig about her, and he was like, wow, she's wild. And then one day I was like, that's the crazy lady. He ran up to her, gave her a huge hug, and was like, so cool. So great to meet you. And she started crying. She was like, this is so nice. Like,
that's so cute.
Yeah. And just like totally random memories like that are like, that's a big part of why I want to be out there, is because you create memories like that all the time.
That's very cool. Well, how can our listeners follow you? What's your Instagram handle? Do you do any other social platforms?
Yeah, I'm Trails with Zach on Instagram, and don't do anything else. Any other I tried doing TikTok for a little bit, but I don't understand TikTok. I don't like TikTok. Okay. maybe I'll try with TikTok again. But yeah, Instagram, Trails with Zach.
Cool. We'll link that in the description. Do you post on Strava?
Yeah, I guess I do post on Strava.
Okay, I'll also link your Strava in the description as well.
Yeah, it's just Zachary Frisch.
Cool.
Yeah, that's where I track all the vert, is just Strava.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Abby.